this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Angus, who was a broke personal trainer a few years ago before he took my course. He took the training and got his first entry-level job, worked very hard for several years, and now is a part owner of an agency making over $200,000 a year. This is a very exciting example of what's possible in this field if you work very, very hard and stick with it. And I'm very excited to share his story with you. Thanks for being here, Angus.
Glad to finally be here.
Awesome, man. So this is, your story is a bit, it's great. It's a bit unusual. Why don't you tell people, what are you doing? What's your job right now?
Yeah, sure. So job right now is essentially the first job that I got in digital marketing. I was working there for it's been about 4 or so years now. And now I'm at the point where I've bought into the company. So I'm a part owner of the business. In terms of day to day, it's kind of a little bit of everything at the moment. So it's actually working on the tools, doing all the stuff that you learn in the course, as well as of recent, obviously a lot more business management, hiring, training the team, pitching for new clients, all that sort of fun stuff as well.
So this is great. You got hired at an agency, you stuck with that agency and grew over 4 years. And now you're even in charge of hiring, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit later, or maybe even another video, because you have a great insight into what employers are looking for in potential hires. But I'm curious, before we talk about your journey to get here, you told me you are making over 200,000 a year. What was your last salary, and how does that figure come to be? Is it that you're getting kind of a piece of the profit of the agency?
Yeah. So it's obviously as a base salary, and then there's a bonus that is part of that, and then obviously dividends in the company as well.
That's fantastic. Okay, and we'll talk more about that in detail, because guys, this is the answer to the question. I said it is possible. I've had a lot of students you've seen who make 6 figures in their salary, but if you want to get into the high 6 figures, beyond 100,000, this is where you're going to need some kind of commission or profit sharing or ownership. And the sky's the limit in this industry, because the more clients you get, whether you're freelancing or you have your own agency, or you're in the leadership part of an agency, you can really expand as much as you are able to. So this is fantastic. And are you working in the office, or do you work remotely?
I work in the office. The company, we have staff usually work hybrid, but I like going to the office. I'm a bit of a weirdo, so I like going in. So I'm in there, 5-6 days a week.
That's great. And you like it, and you're the boss. So it kind of makes sense. Not like, the boss is making me work in the office. You are the boss, and you prefer to, be in the office, which
if I'm here, I just go straight for the fridge and start, eating throughout the day. I get distracted.
Yeah. And you're at home right now.
I'm at home right now. Yeah.
And by the way, guys, if you can't tell, where do you live?
I live in Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, there you go. I'm just learning to distinguish the accents. No, he's not British, he's Australian. And yeah, guys, there's a great job markets in the UK, in Australia, in the US, in Canada, a lot of these Western countries. So going back to where, a lot of people always want to know, how did you get to this point? What was going on in your life back it was 2018 when you first found my course? What was going on in your life? What was your job? What were things like?
Yeah. So I've been doing personal training for probably about 1 year or 2 years at that point. What I'd found is I really liked working with clients. I didn't really care about the fitness component. I liked talking with clients. I liked hearing about, a lot of them had businesses, or they were in high level positions in working in corporate. And I just found that was always more interesting to talk about than fitness. So I started sort of thinking, I want to do something else. I want to do something other than personal training. I want to be involved in business somehow. Lots of courses online, lots of probably wasting time, drop shipping, Amazon FBA, and all that kind of stuff. And then somehow I stumbled across, I think it was a student testimonial of yours, and sort of realized, oh, wow, I didn't realize there was actually a whole job market in digital marketing. I didn't even realize this was an industry. So I started looking into it, took the course, and yeah.
Yeah, that was it in terms of you were now on the path to a better career. But what actually happened? Like, tell us about getting that first job. You had like, I think only a month or two or three of experience.
Yeah.
How was it getting that first job?
Yeah, so it was very quick. So I'd stopped doing personal training. I shut down the personal training business that I was running. So I was committed to making it happen really quickly. So I did the course, went through all the material within about a month, and then I had two small freelance clients at the time to put on my resume, obviously as experience. Wasn't really making anything from them. I just sort of, one of them I was working for free. The other one, it was just a very small retainer. And then just started applying for jobs. And one of them, and I will say some of them were entry level. The job that I applied for that I actually got the position was for someone, I think they were asking for 3 years of experience. So I wasn't qualified at all, but they still took me in for an interview. And I went through the process at the time that you'd recommended in the course. And yeah, I got the job.
That's so awesome, man. Tell us actually, what was the conversation like when the guy who hired you like called you? What did he actually say to you about your experience?
Yeah, so the guy is now my business partner, and at the time he was pretty upfront. He had took me in for the interview and said at the end of it, look, you're not qualified for this position, but I really like that you put all this effort into building out an example Google ad campaign and all of this. You got certified. You've shown that you've got gumption if you've actually gone out and prepared yourself and shown that you want a job in this industry. So I'm willing to take you on and train you from scratch.
That's fantastic. That's great, guys.
Yeah,
I say this every time I do a walkthrough video. It's all throughout the course, the guys, that you're not. I mean, technically, yeah, you're not qualified for these jobs that say 3 years experience. But guess what? No one else is, because what else did he say? He said you're not qualified, but didn't he say something like, "But I can't find anybody else"?
yeah, exactly. And now on the other end of it, when we're trying to hire people, honestly, guys, you probably don't realize how underqualified a lot of people going for these positions are, even at mid-level and in senior roles sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that, because this is gold. You have to understand. I mean, to talk to someone like Angus who's hiring, this is gold. Said when you're in college, you have most of those. When you're a student, you don't even know what jobs exist, and you certainly would never have the opportunity to talk to someone doing the hiring. And I talked with Rain, like I think last year, who's a hiring manager. You're all saying the same thing, which is that the strategy from the course works because there is still a lack of talent. Because the colleges, God bless them, still don't teach this. And people who are working in the industry, Rain said the same thing. There's people who say they're qualified or maybe even have some experience, but doesn't mean they're good. So that's why in the walkthrough videos, I am showing you LinkedIn Premium. I'm showing you the other people applying. And again, I'll repeat this because I like it needs to be repeated, because most of us believe it's not, believe you're not qualified, believe you can't go after these jobs. But really, most people applying are not qualified. So you will stand out just like Angus did. So you applied for a job that said 3 years, you got the job. Then what was it like working there for the next few years?
Yeah, it was a big learning curve. So it was essentially me and my now business partner at the time. So it was the first hire for this agency. So sort of he put a lot of time into training me from scratch. Started with Google ads, then got more into paid social, SEO, lots of different areas. So I kind of got the chance to work across everything, which is great. But yeah, what you learn in the course is the fundamentals. And once you get into an agency, that's when you really start to learn how to actually apply this stuff in real life. And the only way you can learn is by doing it.
And what was well, first of all, I'm curious, what were you getting paid when you first got hired?
Yeah, so I think it was around 55,000 AUD. So I'm not sure what that converts to in US, but yeah.
That's good. It's probably like 40 or something, but
yeah,
great for entry level. And then so I want to ask you about your progression, but just, people like to hear this. Well, you had no experience. You're being trained by your, now business partner, and he's building it from scratch. So you're bringing in clients. regularly. What was it like working on an actual live account and talking to clients? Were you nervous that you might screw up? Was your partner there to kind of give you advice?
Yeah, he was. He definitely was there to help me throughout the process. But yes, it was scary talking to clients for the first time. I think since it was a small agency, or very small agency, I got thrown to the deep end, which looking back, I'm grateful for. But yeah, it was scary getting put in front of clients and talking in front of them for the first time. But now I love it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what was that like? When did it shift from being scary to being you kind of saying, "Oh, I kind of got the hang of this"?
Yeah, I think you kind of have a bit of imposter syndrome when you first start out. You think, oh, I sort of know this, but until you've worked across enough accounts and gotten amazing results for clients, then you start to build that confidence and it kind of comes naturally.
Yeah, guys, you've seen it. I've interviewed a lot of students like this, even students who are very introverted, and that is the same thing. So the takeaway is it's normal to feel like imposter syndrome or feel nervous. That's normal.
Totally.
Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. Uh,
some
oh,
students say, a lot of students say, "How do I get rid of imposter syndrome?" And I say, "Don't. You really shouldn't waste your time trying to get rid of it because it'll be
no,
there. You just have to learn how to just keep taking action, even though it might be there, and it disappears over time."
totally. Yeah. Well, I think the first time I was presenting to a client, we had I was presenting on a PowerPoint, and this particular client literally told me, "Can you just stop talking when you're going through?" Because I was talking so quickly and I was so nervous. But looking back now, I actually reached out to that client and thanked them for it because I've learned a lot since. Yeah, so even if you have stuff ups when you first start in your job, if you're nervous about talking to clients, a year after that point, it'll be just a blip. It won't mean anything.
That's great advice, guys. You should all take that into consideration because everything's like that. I was the same way. He said, "Stop talking."
He literally said, "Can you
So
just
funny.
stop? Can you just go to the next slide and stop talking and let me
That's
read?"
so funny. Now, most people, that's really great example because that would really hurt a lot of people. They'd be like, "Oh, I screwed up. I'm so stupid. I shouldn't talk. I shouldn't be here." And that's where you really have an opportunity to have some power over your mental process. And that's why I show you these interviews. You want to understand, it doesn't matter what the client says. Everybody's going to screw up in the beginning. I always use Michael Jordan as an example. He loves to talk about all his failures and missed shots because the idea is not that you're never going to fail. It's that how do you respond? And this is part of how you get better at it. You have to get
Yeah.
up maybe in front of a group and like kind of blather on.
And then next time, I never let that happen again. So usually it's a good thing because you learn from it.
You got to learn from these missteps and then understand that, again, guys, that's why I repeat it so many times, because there's a lack of talent. This is not like, I think people think it's like America's Got Talent or like one of those shows or Hell's Kitchen where it's like, all right, you're out of here, you can go home, you're cut, you suck, or you're fired or whatever. Like they're gonna cut you because you made like one little mistake. No, you're expected to make mistakes and to learn. And then like with your guy, he hired you because he saw an investment, right? And people, we'll say this briefly, we'll talk about it more later, but when you're hiring now, isn't that how you view a potential hire, as an investment?
Totally. And I think anyone that you hire, every agency does things a little bit differently. I don't know if it's exactly the same in the US, but in Australia, definitely. So anyone you hire, even at the mid-level, they're going to have to be trained almost from scratch on how you do things. So it's a lot of it comes down to, does this person actually love what they do and want to be here? And if they tick that box, especially junior level, if you're excited, you've got your certifications done, you've built some practical experience, you're going to stand out well above anyone else, even if people have done degrees and if they're marketing and things like that. You're going to look so much better because you've shown that you actually care. And if we invest in training you, it's going to pay off for us because you're the type of person who will take it on board and they're not just going to fluff about.
That's it, guys. That's what I say. That's why, again, in the course, I focus so much on you guys having fun when you're in the interview, because not too much fun. Don't get drunk, but it's an industry of nerds and geeks who love to geek out on these topics. And, and they're looking for cultural fit too. And
Yeah.
that's why I say it's like absolutely important that you understand the fundamentals I teach in the course. You've got to know about Google Ads, but you just need to know so much of it. And you're better off, I said, owning what you've learned, and that you did one campaign, or you ran one campaign, you did one spreadsheet, and that's all you've done, and don't worry about, oh, I didn't do these things. You focus on what you've done, be enthusiastic about it. And here it is right from a guy who's doing the hiring. Because again, they are gonna train you in some capacity, whether even if you even as you said, even if you're a mid-level job, they still have to train you on their agency's process. So you definitely, as you get more into your career and you have more confidence, you don't want to be too stiff, because they still want to know you're teachable, because people in this industry are always learning and growing. Yeah. So what was the progression from, you got an entry-level job, you're making 55K, you're getting more confident, the agency is growing. What was it like from a year like 2, 3, 4 up to where you are now, where you're like a part owner of the agency? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I think the first 2 years were really building the foundation. So learning the skills. I think probably in year 2, starting to get more across account management, working with clients, being the main point of contact, doing all the campaign planning or strategy planning for them, just starting to really learn how to actually become good at what I was doing. And then I think year 3 was when I sort of thought, I've got the hang of this. I like working with clients. At the point I was sort of thinking about, should I leave and start my own agency, or go 100% here, go all in, give it a year, and treat this business like it is mine, which is what I decided to do. And that sort of involved obviously assuming a lot of responsibilities that I weren't part of my job description at all at the time. And after that year, then it just sort of, the topic of me buying into the business got brought up by my now business partner, and then we went from there.
That's amazing. And what was your salary before you bought into the agency? I'm just curious what your salary was at that point.
Yeah, so I think probably year 2, I'll try and do it by years maybe. So year 2, it would have been around 75,000 Australian. Year 3, it would have been about 90,000 Australian. Yeah, and then right before I bought in, it would have been, I think it was around 110.
Okay. Wow. And now
and
it's almost double.
Yeah.
This
with a lot of extra work, but
yeah. I mean, it's really like when you say part owner, it's your agency at this point, and you said you're what did you say about your owner? Why did your partner want to make this deal with you? What was his interest, and what, and yeah, how did that work?
Yeah. So even if we go back to when I started thinking about, I'm going to treat it like my own business, after a year of coming at it with that mindset, I was sort of at the point where we had a 50-50 split of all of our largest clients coming to us. So I was sort of doing half of his job at that point. He was obviously still across more of the pitching for new clients and business management and things which I wasn't doing, but I had a really good relationship with some of our biggest clients. So I think for him, it's sort of, I'd built that trust with him. He trusted me implicitly. He was a little bit older. So for him, I think it's sort of having someone come up through the ranks and eventually running the business, who he trusts, is a lot better than trying to hire a GM or hire someone externally to do that so he can spend more time with his family. So yeah.
That's fantastic, man. And that's a really good point too, guys. You realize, I mean, as you get into this industry, I've told you are a free agent, and that's true. You have the ability to jump from agency to agency if you're not being treated right. But if you find a place that's good and you can perform and then build trust, that is huge, because of the free agency, because there's such a high demand, because there is turnover. When someone finds someone, that's why, an agency is willing to invest in somebody. It's like, if we can make them feel taken care of, they'll stick with us. I
mean, my approach was, I didn't want to just commoditize myself and be a job hopper. I wanted to find one place where I could go all in and make it my own. But yeah, everyone's got different
Yeah,
values, what they want
it's
to do. But yeah,
it's totally fine to jump because like I said, it's like changing, basketball teams, it's like you just go to the better deal. But the trust factor, what you're describing, I can relate because I would be like this guy because I'm a little older. And so I think it's, being like, okay, yeah, I'd rather hand off the day-to-day stuff to a younger person who I trust. So I can have more free time and let him take more of the profits. And that's a really fantastic arrangement. So yeah, this is, guys, this is one path. People always ask me, how much can you make in this industry? This is a path, whether you're starting your own agency or, have this type of arrangement. But I think it's very exciting because, you're really just starting this phase of your career and you're already over 200,000. And I'm sure as the agency continues to grow, you'll keep growing. And the important thing is, do you enjoy it?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I'd be able to put up with some of the stress and workload if I didn't actually genuinely love what I was doing. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's, being an owner is always stressful, but think about it, you could be a doctor, you could be making about the same amount of money or maybe less and have even more stress.
Yeah, and I think when you start working with clients and you get to the point where they'll come to you directly for advice, or you'll put together a strategy, or you'll hear what their business objectives are, you'll put together a marketing strategy that makes sense to help them achieve that, and then you nail it, and it just feels really, really good. And you won't get that when you first start because you'll usually be executing for someone else or while you're learning. But after that 1 year, 2 year point when you can start to deliver real outcomes for businesses, it feels amazing.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on that, it is possible in the beginning to get results, small results, like depending on the agency, if you work for a big agency and, you have a supervisor who's the main strategist on a big account, but I've had students and even myself where I've worked at a smaller agency and I had smaller clients where you're given a little more responsibility, or when you guys are in the course and you get that freelance client, it's very exciting. The most exciting thing I think for most people is like, why do people like digital marketing? Like why did I like it? I love the problem solving. I love learning the stuff, but I really like the ability to see that you're making a difference.
Yeah.
It's people across different careers, they ask like, what's important to you in a job? It's like, oh, I want to be, I want to be paid well in this work-life balance, but also people want to make a difference. And I had a student post recently, like he sent a screenshot of his Facebook ads account for his client, and he'd like 10x'd their profit in like a few months. And he'd only taken the course like 6 months ago. And he's just it's very satifying. And it's satisfying even if you have, like what I teach you in the course, you don't have to do 10x or 2x. It's literally get a little bit of a better result for somebody, if it's a local business, it's a dentist, and you bring them in 2 new clients. It's like, whoa, this is it's exciting. And it's an excitement that not every profession has.
Totally. Yeah. And you can literally be the growth arm for some of these businesses. You can be the reason why they went from 1 million to 10 million plus in turnover, just through them scaling their digital marketing. It's crazy when you see it actually happen.
Yeah. And then that's why they pay. They should.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And what, let me just, thank you for sharing your story with us. And as we kind of wrap it up here, I did want to ask you though, what's the impact on this field been on your life? Because I said you were kind of a struggling personal trainer a few years ago. What's, I don't know, your quality of life, your enjoyment of life, friends, family, that kind of thing. How has your life changed?
Yeah, it's been, I think it affords you, especially if you want to take it far, which you can, whether it means starting your own business or starting your own agency. I think it just gives you options. So for me, that's been really empowering to be able to go, okay, I have control over how much I earn. I can push it a lot harder if I want to. So yeah, obviously there's more freedom now as well, which is great. So it's been.
Yeah,
did you
go?
awesome. Yeah.
You took some trips, right? Like, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah. I was just in Nepal for a month doing Everest Base Camp trek.
That's crazy. Mount Everest.
Not the whole thing, but just
Right.
going to the start of it and sort of walking around there, which was awesome. But yeah, being able to go and do that and have everything still running back home was really nice.
When you were, before you were the owner, when you were a salary, because a lot of my students, you know, obviously a lot of folks just get a salary job, but when you were working
Yep.
as a salaried employee before you took on the extra responsibility, what was it like then? Were you also still able to, you know, take a holiday and feel more
Yeah,
confident?
totally. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's quite a since it is a newer profession, it's quite most of the employers are quite flexible, similar to if you're working in tech or something like that. So lots of places will give you flexibility with work from home, and a lot of them, yeah, they're quite flexible with you taking holidays and all that sort of stuff. So there's lots of agencies who will hire people who are literally a digital nomad overseas, and you never have to step foot in the office ever. So it's definitely gives you freedom if that's something you want and you want to, you know, travel around and work at the same time. That's totally possible in this industry.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah. And just again, start small, start slow, get the fundamentals. And this is, you know, this is a great, you know, you're a great example of where, you know, how far you can take it.
Yeah,
So that's awesome, man. Thanks. Thanks so much for sharing your story. And I want to ask you, you know, a couple of things. As I already said, I was going to wrap up, but I'm going to wrap up again. But first of all, can people reach out to you on LinkedIn if they have any questions?
totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I will leave your LinkedIn, and then I'm going to ask about, if any closing thoughts. But do you have anything you want to say to people who are considering the course, and also from the perspective of someone who's actually hiring digital marketers?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say do the course. Definitely do it quickly. At least if you're somewhat like me, do it quickly, get it done, get the fundamentals down, and start applying as soon as you can. Don't skip out on that last section where it is all about getting your resume in check, building up your practical experience. Get it done. But as soon as you've done that, don't overthink it. Start applying. If you're putting personalized messages in when you're applying, do it. I mean, even if you go one step further and pester the hiring manager on LinkedIn and message them and message them and message them until they give you a chance, you will stand out. A lot of people applying, especially for entry level roles, they're lazy. They literally don't even know what the industry is. They've just finished uni and they're looking for a job, and they don't stand out or do anything to stand out. Whereas if you're coming with you've got your Google Ads certification, you've created some practical experience, and you're actually hungry and you can show, I want to work in this industry, you'll get a job, no problem. It really is. There's a massive lack of talent, and lots of agencies are completely open to training you from scratch because they have to anyway. Because you don't, even if you've gone to uni and you haven't learned the practical skills. So focus on getting the experience and showing that you're genuinely passionate, and people will give you a shot.
Very well said, man. Couldn't have said it better myself. And
Yeah.
again, as I said, I would say is, these university students, these college students are flooding these agencies with applications, and they're terrible applications with no experience and no clue. And it's like, I took an English studies class,
Yeah.
but I don't know
Yeah.
how Google makes money.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas if you come with, I've already got my certifications, if you're attaching like an example Google ad campaign spreadsheet, which I know is something you mentioned to do in the course back when I did it, it's going to show that you care and you've done your research, you know what the industry is, you kind of have a bit of an idea of how it works. And that's going to be worth so much more than a university degree.
And also, just something I remember you saying is that you had taken some other courses too, and you tried like drop shipping. And then what did you think about how my course compared to other courses, and what advice would you give people?
Yeah, I think the others, they're a lot more focused on, get rich quick, and it's a bit more of a fantasy that they're selling. Whereas it's a real opportunity, it's a real industry, and you really can get a job quite quickly if you follow the course through. So I would say focus on this one if you want to do something real, and the others, ignore all of that. Give this a shot for a year and see where it takes you.
Well said, guys. Like I said, that's why, I'm not promising crazy results. I'm promising an entry-level job with a modest salary that you can level up. And it's not as sexy as saying you're going to make $20,000 in 30 days, but you've seen from all the interviews, people actually get the results here, versus the other courses. So anyway, man, I really thank you for sharing your story here. Is there anything you want to say to me before we wrap up the interview?
Yeah, just thanks for making the course. I really appreciate it. And I don't think I'd be where I am today if I didn't take it.
Fantastic, man. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. I appreciate you reaching out to me. Angus just reached out to me on LinkedIn randomly, and that's how we reconnected. I didn't know he was, crushing it down in Australia. He just sent me a thank you note.
Feeling grateful.
Yeah. 5 years, I think, after you took the course, and I said, cool, man, let's talk. And I appreciate that. Yeah. I love it when alumni reach out like this, and your story, obviously makes such a big difference to share what's possible with people. So again, thanks for coming on, man. We'll stay in touch, and we'll talk soon.
No worries.